We'll get ready. This will be our agenda for the Public Works Committee meeting Monday, March 1st, 2021, 4 o'clock p.m. At this time, Mr. Dawkins, would you lead us in our invocation, please?
Yes. Let me pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we want to say thank you for giving us another opportunity to call in your holy and divine name. Lord, we ask that as we make decisions for this county, let it be in the best interest of our constituents and our residents. Lord, please protect us, keep us, and bring us together. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Dawkins. Got a couple of things on the agenda for today to look at. One is a couple of bridges, Fry Road Bridge and Smoke Ridge Road Bridge, and then the county road evaluation system. I'm going to recognize our administrator, Mr. Steve Bragg.
Thank you, Mr. McDaniel. First item on the agenda is Fry Road Bridge and Smoke Ridge Bridge, Smoke Ridge Road Bridge. As you all have seen in the paper in the past week or so, and I've communicated with you all, there's been a lot of discussion on bridges, not only in our county, but also statewide. We have 18 bridges within our system, and wanted to just talk to you about a couple of them that we're having some issues with right now that are known issues. At each of your seats, I think you've got a list of all the county bridges there. We have 18 bridges total in our system. The state inspects those bridges every 2 years, is that correct? Every other year, with the exception of Fry Road. Fry Road, which is actually not on your list right there, is the one bridge that they don't, and the reason why they don't is because of the length of that bridge. So we've always had it inspected by an engineer of our own. The last time it was inspected is 2019. I've actually got that here in front of me. The weight limit that is on that bridge is 12 tons, which is a 12-ton per axle load. That's been in place since 2005. There were some concerns noted on that bridge back when it was done in 2019. And we've had the same engineer inspecting that bridge for a long time. Jamie Cajano with the city of Gaffney reached out to me with some concerns about Fry Road Bridge simply because of the weight limit is below what a fire truck weighs. So they've got some concerns there, same concerns they've had on some of the state roads and concerns that we've got on trash trucks and other things. So what I'm proposing to do, actually I've already signed the PO, we're going to, I talked to Fran Creel, who is our contact that you all know from SNME, regarding bridge inspections, and they did not do that. However, she gave me a recommendation for Vaughn and Melton Consulting Engineers. They're going to inspect our bridge. It's about $4,900 to inspect Fry Road Bridge. I've already signed that agreement that we're going to have that done. Fry Road, the reason we're concerned about it is it's a dead-end road. It's off of East Junior High Road, and there's 20 houses on the other side of the bridge. So that's the concern that Mr. Cajano has, the concern that I have. We send our trash trucks across that bridge and so forth. So we've just got some concerns there. So I just wanted to bring you up to speed that we're evaluating that bridge to see what needs to be done, to see if if there's something we can do to bolster that bridge to help increase the load capacity. I don't know that that's going to be the case, but I will be reporting back to you all on Fry Road. But just wanted to bring it to your attention to let you know that we are looking at that bridge. And just for information, Mr. Pierce lives on that road, so Sonny wants to make sure that bridge, he's got fire protection. So just be aware, just wanted you to know that also. So he drives that bridge every day and sees it. We're taking a close look at it. Smoke Ridge Road Bridge, we were informed last week by DOT that it failed their inspection and they recommended it be closed immediately and that it was not safe for traffic. As you see on your sheet there, Smoke Ridge Road Bridge was built in 1992, it's 40 feet long. That bridge has been being discussed apparently for several years as part of a replacement plan Looks like back in 2015, we contracted with the S&ME to do a subsurface exploration of that bridge. And my predecessor put together a takeoff to replace that bridge. Looks like we're looking at about $62,000 if we did it ourselves. Of course, that was 6 years ago, so that price is going to be significantly more than that at this point. We have closed Smoke Ridge Road. We notified the public as well as we could that road was closed. We've got signage up on both ends of Smoke Ridge, which for those of you who don't know is off of Highway 18, and it cuts through to Corinth Road. So there are several houses on it. The bridge is on the end closest to 18, if I'm correct on that. Most of the houses are over toward the Corinth Road side. So, but we have closed that bridge. What I'm asking the committee for today is for any discussion that you all want to have on this, but also I would like for you all to authorize me to go out and seek some pricing to see what we'd be looking at to replace that bridge. The one thing I don't want to do, and I don't know if you've all seen it lately, but I don't want to be sitting here like we've got, like the state's got on Gocher School Road right now, where they've got a bridge that's been closed for 2 years. They've got another one up in the Macedonia area, Island Creek Road, that's been closed for 2 years. I'd like to address this ASAP so that that road, we can utilize that road as needed for whether it be emergency services. I don't know if a school bus travels it, but our trash trucks and various other things travel that road. So that's where I'm at with those two particular bridges, Mr. McDaniel. So however the committee chooses to proceed, we will.
Well, the safety of our people, our citizens is a concern, of course, of all of this council and our public works department, and certainly we gotta know what we're dealing with. So I agree with you, we probably, need to do an analysis on that, go out for bids on that. What's the pleasure of this council?
Make a motion to
Smoke
grant
Ridge Road.
that authorization to the administrator.
So I got a motion, do we have a second? Any questions on that or concerns? All in favor on this committee, raise your hand. All opposed, like sign. Okay. Mr. Bratton, if you can put that out for bids or whatever steps you need to do on Smoke Ridge and see bring that back to us and let us know what you've got on that, what we're looking at on Smoke Ridge Road.
We will, and I'll discuss that a little bit more with S&ME, be sure that their recommendation still holds, and we'll go from there, but I just,
Of course, we'll bring this to full council.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
I got one question that occurred out. I'm sorry, I should have asked, but with regards to, are we gonna be able to fix this, or you going out for bids to fix this? Where are we at?
I feel more comfortable going out for bids. Where are you at with
Well,
this?
because we don't really have the equipment to put that bridge in, nor the manpower.
Okay.
And we'd have to let everything that we're doing now go to do that.
A lot of what was done before, I think a lot of that equipment is no longer owned by the county. Is that correct?
It was sold.
Back when we built a couple of bridges several years back.
Okay. Going back to Friar Road, Sonny, can a pipe not be put in there?
Well, a pipe could be put in, but we run into the issue of traffic going across and to and from, to put that pipe in. Try to do that, put the pipe in. Have they stranded it there?
Well, if you put a pipe in, it's gonna be less work, less time than waiting more for you.
That's certainly an option, that we could put a pipe beside that bridge. When we tear the bridge out after we've installed the pipe, we get into the right of way in the easement that we have on that road. At the end.
What's the length of that bridge? Do you know what it is? All right.
It's about just football.
How much? 14 foot. But it depends on how much water table we got with that too. How much water comes down through there.
Yeah.
And their roads.
That creeks, that is, it's dry a lot there in the summer, isn't it? Something is dry.
During the rain, it's a lot of water. Well,
It's not like Lisa Lane or anything.
It's not like we've had some, pipes blown out, it's like quite that leak.
take it at least pipe and diameter to take the water.
But if we can do an 8-foot pipe and we can possibly install that ourselves, I was thinking, you might have to do that in a week, I know it couldn't be done in a day tear up the existing bridge, but it might be something, and you can tell me better, maybe,
Yeah, and, pipe is something we can put in,
or a box culvert, but box culverts are a lot more expensive, I know, than a pipe would be on that. But administration and with your help, can look into that and see what the possibilities are, try to bring the recommendation back to us. So in the meeting, that, go out for bids on that bridge too, or if we think we might can do pipe, culverts.
right? And like Mr. Brown said, if there's even one application that the engineer says that we could do through that bridge.
Right, that's right.
And keep that just a bridge, advantage of it further than that.
Is it a wooden bridge? A wood plank bridge?
It's a full bridge, and it's got steel stringers under the concrete bars.
Yeah, that's most of our, and we've done some things like on, if you go down Brick House Road, Sonny and his crew last year replaced all the wood decking and the guardrails on the bridge, but again, that doesn't address the foundation of the bridge. So
Is the abutment the problem, or is it the steel? What is the issue to maintain?
It's a combination of both.
Yes.
I think when the engineer inspects that bridge, he looks at the rust on the stringers,
Right.
it's additional concrete and so forth, right? Just goes off of that.
on Private Road, the comment that was made by the engineer in 2019 was the concrete is hard and does not have any structural crack. The abutments are in good condition and capable of supporting the bridge deck beams. One of the things they recommended that we did was build behind the left bank wing walls, and they washed out. They recommended that we replace the wood decking within the next 4 years, and various other things. But again, the concern, we don't think we've got a problem with Fry Road, but the concern is it's just not built to hold the weight of these emergency vehicles. And we've got 20 houses on the other side.
These are all the improvements that he suggested.
Yeah, we've done what he suggested, but that didn't do anything to address it.
Okay. Well, if you could bring us something back on that, what's your recommendation would be, Friday, you could definitely take a look at that too. Certainly do.
The next item on the agenda, if I may, Mr. Chairman, is that fine if we go to the next item?
Yes, sir.
With us tonight, we have some folks from KPI, which is a company, and they can explain to you a little bit more what they're doing in Cherokee County right now, but they're working with DOT and with Blythe Zachary on the widening of I-85. So they have some folks in our area right now who are, they have a presence in our county right now. But they came to us a while back, about a month or so ago, with a proposal to look at a piece of software and a service they offer, which is a pavement condition assessment on county roads. Kevin Thornton, as many of you know, Kevin sits back here, he works with KCI now, and Kevin and I talked about it. I think he talked with at least one councilman about it. And I've asked them to come tonight to kind of go through their assessment and how they do it, and to show you a tool that we could possibly use to help us as we evaluate roads within our county system. We've got 303 miles of paved roads in our county system right now. And the current way we assess it, and you all know, is Sonny and his guys go out and run it and look at how many potholes we got, how much cracking we got, how bad it's not a very technical thing, but what this would do is give us a tool that we could utilize. Cole here is also with KPI, and I'm going to introduce him. I've got one other gentleman with him. Cole, I've got to pull it up here. So if you need to drive and you've got anywhere to go, I'll do that.
I'll give a quick rundown. So I'm one of the project managers out. We are in charge of the inspection for DOT's project management of the 85 projects. Kevin and I work on the section from 77 down to Spartanburg up to the Broad River. Other members of our company take over from the Broad River and take it to North Carolina line. All told, KCI has about 30 to 35 inspectors and managers working inside of Cherokee County right now. And we met with Steve last week because we saw an opportunity with something that we're doing throughout the state of Georgia and a couple of places in South Carolina. Just to give you kind of a snapshot. I know each one of y'all don't have time to ride all 300 roads. And, you know, I don't know your background, but you may not, you know, outside of a pothole, you don't necessarily know, you know, well, is this gonna last good for 20 years? Is this gonna fall apart next year or whatever? So what we want to do is kind of, with our background in road work and inspections and fixing roads and that sort of thing, is kind of give you a tool that you can go as high level, I mean, you can zoom out and see the whole county and kind of see where you are. We can put layers in there by district, so you can look at the roads in your district and kind of see what they are. And then also, you can also categorize them by the condition that they're in. Tonight we brought, Jimmy Withrow. He's done, quite a few of these throughout Florida and Georgia. And, he would be kind of our guy to call, but ultimately, myself or Kevin or somebody on our local team would be performing these actual inspections. But, Jimmy knows more of the background of how it's set up and the inputs and that sort of thing. So we brought him tonight. So Jimmy, you want to talk him through it, or if you want to drive, or how?
You know what I mean, I've got a photo right here if you want.
Oh, that'd be great. In fact, I can drive, I might make that more. Oh, yeah, there's just a quick hit. I am from Georgia. I'm retired GDOT, 32 years, working with GDOT and with KCI for about 4 years. And the creation started when I came to KCI. We can put you on a project, or if you've got a good idea. I said, well, work with GDOT. That guy got a good idea that we might get work, because what we ran into is everybody kept trying to offer us a system to do our system. And it was like a can of corn. We pulled off the ship, it was the same thing. It didn't fit the needs that we had every time. And we were trying to fit the system instead of the system fitting us. So our idea was, we can put a system, do systems that actually fits the needs of the customer. So that's a broad range of customers we got. Most counties are simple. It was like the description I just gave. You go right, look at it. You take a look, try to decide where you're going to spend your money, how you're going to spend it, and it kind of gets pushed in there, crafts you in there as you're trying to make this decision.
Okay, today.
Okay, that's great.
Oh, I got
That's it. So we tried to go in there and make it so that it was easier to make decisions. You can't come in and tell somebody what to do, because I don't know your road system, see what to do, but I can tell you the condition that your road systems are in. That way, if you're the administrator sitting in that seat, you've got a certain amount of budget, well, how do I spend it, where do I spend it? So we decided to break these roads down. What you're looking at on this first screen is the dashboard. We created this one because it's a quick look of what went over the county. This is, I think this one's Franklin County, Georgia, which was one of the first things we did. Don't pay attention to the big map in the middle right now. We'll get back to the map in the middle. But if you look over the number of inspections, we did 363 inspections in Franklin County. We looked at the roadway system, and I'm trying to recall, I can't remember the exact number of roads they had. It seemed like they were right around 300, give or take a few. And we based the length of the segments based on 5,280 feet. So, okay, that gives us a pretty standard paving width. We didn't want to come in and say that we're going to pave each road, because that didn't give you a condition. That if we go from one end of the road to the other, so we're going to break it into smaller segments, give a better idea of what's out there. So we broke it down to 363 segments. Some of these go 5,280 feet, some of them might be 6,000 feet, some of them might be 400 feet. It just depends on the road. Depends on what's a logical breaking point that you'd actually want to work on that roadway. So we looked at them, we went in, we did assessments on them. If you look at it, their overall rating was 80.8, which there you're like, okay, how does it work? Same thing as if you were in school. If you look over to the bar chart, the blue, our ratings, it fell between 100 and 91. Between 90 and 81 are the green ratings. Between 70 and 61 are the yellow ratings. Trying to make sure I'm on track, because I think I got off. Between 80 and 71 of the yellow ratings, between 70 and 61 of the purple ratings, and from 60 down to 0 get to be the red ratings. Those are the ones you really want to stay away from. Now, if you look at this bar graph, it'll tell you real quick. If you look, there's 125 ratings. They hit the blue. They had 55 ratings in the rest. Everything else fell in between. This is a quick look at their county. We built this just for meetings like this, because you don't want to have to go through the map. You don't want to try to click on everything, but you want some quick information up there. If you had to sit in a meeting with a council meeting and you had all the people in the county sitting in here, this shows you real quick what you did and why you did it. Now, it's interactive. You can still go here, you can click on this segment of roadway, it'll open it up and it'll show you exactly what the assessment was on that roadway. It'll walk you right through it, tell you what was wrong with it, and give you a quick look at the picture down below it. Now, this one leads you straight into the next one. This is the one that you actually work from. It's built, it's got the entire county, all the routes that were inside the county. Adjustment to you, it's set right there in the center. That's everything that had, all the roads, and you see how the colors go. The reason we went with color code is just because it's easy to deal with when you're looking at it. If you want to say, well, okay, what kind of conditions is the county in, you can see it's a little bit of everything out there, but just what we always get into. To do the assessments, we go out to the roadways, we pick these segments of roadways. We have two apps that we use in the field called the Collector app and the Survey 123 app. The Collector app has this map, except it's just all one color. And it's broken into segments. Once we get into a segment, we click on that extra map. It tells us how many feet are in that map. And the name of the roadway, we make sure we're in the right place. And then we begin our survey. We're looking for the basics in roadway distresses out there. The same thing we always look for. We look for things called block cracking, for load cracking, for rutting, for reflective cracking, for edge distresses, for section loss, and patches and potholes. Some of these count from one end of the segment to the other: patches, potholes, edge distresses, section loss. Those we count. Patches and potholes they begin to be a number. Edge distresses, section loss are a certain percentage of that. The rest of it, as we go through this, we're looking at saying, okay, the first 1,000 feet, we're trying to figure out what condition is this road in. What's something that's an average condition that we're seeing out there. When we get into the middle section, the last section, then we're looking for a place to stop that represents what we've already seen. We stop at average. You don't look for the worst place, you don't look for the best place. Doesn't give you the best idea of what's going on. We look for something that's average. We stop, we get out, go to the back of the truck, we take a quick picture of that area. Then we start walking. We walk for 100 feet, front of, behind of it, doesn't matter as long as you're walking 100 feet. Looking at the roadway, examining to see what kind of stresses are out there. When we've got that, you say 100 feet, sometimes we're walking 300 feet because you keep changing your mind saying, from this point to this point is better than this point to this point. When you decide your location, you decide that area that you've got and decide what kind of distress is on. Is it a low distress? Is it a block distress? Or is it any distress? Now, as my wife tells me, I get in this way too deep sometimes. But a quick glimpse of what you can get into out there is, if you can picture wheel ruts, if you're ever driving on a road that's wet and you see the tire swipes in front of you, that's typically where your wheel ruts run the roadway. Because people drive in the same spots over and over again. And it'll create a rut in those areas. One of the first things we look at is see how deep those ruts are. Then start looking in those areas and see if there's any cracking that's visible inside those ruts. That gets to be low cracking because it comes from the top going down, the traffic that goes over. There are 4 different severity levels of load cracking. It's a simple load, which is just like a straight line here or there. A level 2 gets to be 1 or 2 lines, starts intersecting. A level 3, it starts to form a pattern inside those wheel ruts. A level 4 gets to be the alligator cracking. Everybody always sees the alligator cracking out there. Starts to be alligator cracking inside those wheel ruts. And we evaluate to see, okay, is this a level 1, level 2, level 3? And in this 100 feet section that we've walked, what percentage of that is taken up by this cracking? It works the same thing for the block cracking. Block cracking is, it runs across the roadway, but it's more from a bottom up instead of a top down type crack. that starts to open up the roadway. We've run 3 severity levels on the F1, you just got a little line that goes across the roadway. 2, it starts to get kind of a little block look to it. 3, it gets into the major blocks. And we rate those, again, based on the severity level and the percentage for that 100-foot section. Now we go through all of these, we create these assessments. As you put this information in there, based on what it is, there is a deficit that goes along, a deduct value that goes along with each one of these. We start at 100, and for whatever level these gets, or whatever severity level it is, a percentage in there, the program knows the number of deducts that should be taken off from under, and it starts taking those off. With patches and potholes, it's the amount that are there. 1 to 3 is a certain amount, then you get into 3 to 6 is another amount. Once you get over 15, it's all the same, if it's 30 or 15, because that's a lot of potholes and patches in those areas. All that information is built into that assessment. It creates an overall rating for that complete segment of roadway. And that's where the colors come from. That's how they're built off that part. Now, it gets to be an awful lot of information, but it's what your administrator has to deal with every year when they start looking at those roadways and trying to determine what should we do and how should we do it. Now, to make that part a little simpler, all this is interactive. If you click on any of these, it's just like I showed you on the first map, it will pop up the assessments if you want to get a quick look. And you can see on this one, it had severity level 1 block cracking for 5%, which is nothing. 5% block cracking for severity level 1 is very little. It had 51% reflective cracking in it, which meant there was some kind of concrete base underneath it. You know, the overall rating was just 98. So that's a really good road. If you want to look at a quick picture of it, click it in there and gives you a quick look at the picture. Now, to make an educated decision about what you need to do and how you need to do it, do they need resurfacing? Is there pavement preservation that can go on here? We've opened it. We'll click here so we'll go past the extent on the map. It will show the whole map to us. We can come in here, we tell them we want the filter. Let me get out of the issues. I'm not going to have myself again. Here. When you open this up, everything that shows up in the bottom right now are all of the 363 assessments. They're all in there, all the information's in. If you want to export this whole thing into a spreadsheet, you can export it into an Excel spreadsheet. Now, if that's way too much information, it's not what you're looking for, you're just concerned with, okay, which ones here are on our really worst routes? Always pick the easiest one to do to go to overall rating. And I want to pick an overall rating that is less than 50. Everything disappears on that map except for those ratings that are less than 50. It opens them all the way up throughout the county. So if he's trying to make an educated decision about what needs to be done, you can look at these areas. This one on this has got 2 different kinds of block cracking that are running in it. One's a severity level 3, 40%, the other one's at 20%. That took 15% off the number there. It had reflective cracking in it. I see, shoot. I'll put it up. I'm gonna do it again. Again, it's got the numbers for what you're looking at there. At that area of the roadway, it brings them in here, and this is what I was saying about patches. It's got 11 to 15 patches, so that's a 17 that comes off. So the overall rate for this road, based on everything that's out there, is 27. So you can look and tell what's happening on that roadway and make a decision on, does it need to be resurfaced? Is it complete reconstruction? Or is it one of these areas that maybe another form? If I want to come in and find areas that can be crack sealed. Go back in there and say, okay, I know these are my worst ones. Let's get rid of this one. Create another one. Go to overall rating there, and that's what the numbers are. It's between, let's say, 81 and 71. right? I've got these are greens and yellows. Now, these are typically good routes. They're all B's and C routes right there. So what we're really looking for is we want to do crack center. Let's add another expression to it. Let's tell it we want to find, in this one, we're looking for just say level 2 block cracking. That is. It's not like, I was looking for the we'll go with not blank. That'll work. We'll be the easiest way to do it today. All right. So it took out those that didn't have any level 2 block cracking, left them with the ones with level 2 block cracking. So if I'm looking to create a plan for crack sealing, I've got the routes I can start on right there. And you can drill down to this any way that you want to. You can take this information again, export it right out to an Excel spreadsheet, and you've got it sitting on your desktop where this information is at. When you're done with it, it's just simple to go back into it. Take all that information out, but this is what I want to do, okay? And then it populates right back to where you started from.
Then what, the other thing, just so you can see in a little bit more detail, is we could print out an assessment for each road that looks like this. I mean, it's the same information that what he's been showing you, but it shows it to you in a little bit better, easier to read for. That's got a photo on it and everything, so this particular road's got a 54 rating.
That makes it nice if somebody questions you about the road, and they say, well, have you looked at it? Oh yeah, we've got it right here. And you can pull that information right out. And we create it so it comes out on a header that fits with Cherokee County, that's Franklin County, but create it so it comes out on Cherokee County header. That's a quick version of it.
A couple of things that we talked to Steve about as well is one, this runs the same type of GIS system that the county's already set up on, that the county maps and surveys are already running in the ArcGIS. So this could be another layer that you guys could see that would work inside of the same platform. And I guess the overall thing here is whether you're DOT, the city, the county, whatever, you're always going to get questioned as to why you did road A instead of road B. This gives you data and numbers that aren't, necessarily swayed if you need to back that decision up. Another thing that we talked with Steve about this is the initiative for DOT a couple of years ago was trying to get all the roads to good, is what they call it. So if you only focus on the red roads every year, the red roads this year, they're going to turn green, but the yellow roads are going to turn to red next year. If you just address the worst possible roads every year, if you can start a program that's got this type of stuff, then you can address the red roads with, say, 80% of your budget. Take the other 20 and maybe go to your blue roads and seal coat them and buy you extra time before they get worse. We talked a lot about reflective cracking and block cracking and that sort of thing. Two things that really damage your roadway. One's the sun and one's the rain and water. The sun is what it is. And you can do pavement preservations and that sort of thing to try and keep the flexural part of asphalt, to be flexible. The sun kind of bakes it out, makes it brittle. That's when it starts to crack. The other way is for the subgrade to start to fail. When that crack opens up, water gets in it, and you know how that works. It only gets worse. So if you can do some of the stuff like he's talking about when you crack seal, yeah, it's not pretty, and yeah, you didn't, John Doe's Road doesn't have fresh asphalt all the way across it. But what you did is you sealed those cracks out, kept that moisture out of the subgrade, and then you may have bought yourself 8 or 10 more years on that pavement as opposed to 2 years, that being a complete rebuild. So it's really about kind of stretching your money because that crack seal or that chip seal or the thin lip, overlay asphalt are all, a lot more cost effective than a complete rebuild all the way from subgrade up. So that's kind of the other part of this is once you identify where your roads are, then you can kind of allocate the money to where you are to get an actual program in place to where at the end of 5 to 10 years, maybe you're looking at a map full of greens and blues and, you know, and an occasional red or yellow that just pops up. And it may be from a utility failure or something like that. I mean, stuff's gonna happen, but overall, you're trying to bring the overall health of your road system up.
And that's, y'all, we have the ability with this also to, as you all know, we're getting ready to pave some roads, got the C-fund money. So we've got the ability, we pave a red road, we've got the ability to go in, we resurface the road, we go in and make it blue.
Yeah.
So we've got the ability to control that. So that when we do pave the road like we're doing right now, we'll be able to make that, be totally interactive with us.
Another reason that we, you know, kind of brought this to y'all's attention is just the availability of us being here. You know, Kevin and I and the other 30 of our guys are in the county every day. If something comes up, if you've got a question or whatever, I mean, we can ride by on lunch break or before work or after work or take a break during work and go take a look at kind of what you got and give you some guidance on kind of what we got going on there. So just kind of being local, you know, we just want to make sure that you guys get all the information that you need so that, you know, taxpayer money goes where it needs to.
How long would an assessment like this countywide take approximately?
From initial assessment, getting everything set up in the computer and turning around, roughly 60 days. So we'd like to have, you know, if given the go ahead, we could have this done by, mid to early summer.
Now, the part they don't want to talk about is what cost.
I just want to know about the roads.
What roads?
Is it all roads, state, city, county? Is it, what roads are you talking?
What-
All roads?
What we've quoted at this point is just the county maintained roads.
That's where we're gonna have a problem, is a bunch of mine are state.
Well, the state does their own evaluation.
Well, apparently not to the satisfaction of some rather have argument parts with this. I mean, we're in a position where we are at the mercy of the committee that does roads. And they have nothing, I've never seen any paperwork come from them to evaluate. I've never heard.
Stephen Ellis does, they do that. The state does that. They got their own evaluation. I know, sure. Y'all working with DOT, do they want to do this sometime with the state?
They have a system like this that they use here and there. But ultimately, I can't speak for Cherokee County. I came from Spartanburg County where I work with DOT, down there, and they base a lot of theirs off of number of calls and, maintenance requests.
Chasing complaints, basically.
Yeah.
Which is why North Carolina and Georgia's roads are so much better.
That's what I'm getting. I mean, I really like the whole thing, but I want the whole package. I don't just tap county. I'm fine if y'all want to start with county, but we need something in place for the state to say, you know, we need this money. We don't need a committee to tell us where this money is. We need to tell the state where we're going to put it. And this, to me, is the ask. Oh, hard.
And I talked to James Taylor about city roads, which I don't have very many, paved city roads. I don't have to. I talked to Dalton, I don't know that they have any in Blacksburg, they may have a few towns on the roads. And James would like to piggyback on this, or he's very interested, with getting the cities incorporated into this if we decide to do.
Guys, what Cole and I was looking at when we talked to the state, that this is your
think this is the first phase of what's going. This is county money that you're spending out to do it, and that's why we tried to just encompass just the county roads. If you guys want to expand it, hey, to do more roads so you can present to the state like Mr. Little saying, we don't have a problem. We'd have to adjust our price, and we'd have to go back and look at what's going. We can't do all the state and county roads for the period we've got. But to get the foundation and see it work, to get something affordable to let you guys know, hey, this process does work. We took the smallest entity that we could for you to fund, which is the stuff that you guys have to decide on and can utilize this money back toward. You've got the trigger to pull to say, hey, we need to pay this road. This is why we need to pay this road. You don't have to go ask Stephen Ellis, can we pay this road? You guys are in charge of the money that comes into the C funds to be able to go out and do. And this will give you that, once you see the report moving forward and these roads start shifting colors to the right across that chart, then you're gonna have to back into everybody else that's around there to say, hey, this process works. Part of why I brought it here because I was a Cherokee County citizen. And I'm tired of riding down these nasty roads across the county line and telling, look, I want to be proud of where I'm from.
Well, this is gonna allow us to know the roads, but we still gotta have the funds to do it.
That's right.
That's, where's the money come?
But what I like about it is, like what was said before, we can look at this and maybe where we don't have the money to repay, because we kind of either, it's basically all or nothing unless it's potholes. We don't do cracks. But maybe that's what we need to do to extend life on some of these roads and things like that we need to be doing. That's a fraction of the cost of resurfacing an entire road. What they looked at right now, y'all, is half-mile segments. So they would evaluate roughly every half mile. You could have a green up next to a red and it be on the same road. To do 303 miles of county road, the price is, correct me if I'm wrong, I'll have $34,700.
Yes.
$34,700 to evaluate all 303 miles of county roads and half-mile segments. They actually came to me with a first price was quarter mile. Price was 1,000, and I said, I don't know about that. So half mile is $34,700 to do this. Now, keep in mind, it is a snapshot. 3 years from now, do you look at going back and evaluate it? While we can do certain things, I don't know that we will have access. Will we have access to the program to go and look at these roads and downgrade them? Would we have access to that too? Or is that something that KCI owns that?
No, we do not. What we will do is we can either, there's two options you have. We can hand it all over to you and you can keep it on your server if you have that, or we can keep it on our server. That way, if you need us for anything, we have access to it. Now that's a $1,200 a year subscription for that service, and that's all it is. That's what it costs us to put it on there.
And this whole thing's web-based, guys. I'm, you know, like he said, it's web-based. This is actually, we can load this into our GIS software. This is just a layer you can turn on, just like you can turn on county fire districts now. I'm not saying that I'm gonna put this out.
I'm saying any taxpayer bill to see.
That's right, for everybody.
And I'm gonna pay.
But, I mean, but it is something that we would have access to internally.
What's the percentage of state roads versus county roads in this county?
It's gonna be a lot more, Mr. Little.
That's what I'm getting.
It's a huge amount, but I'm, if I can be honest, Mr. Little, I'm concerned about what we can control.
We can't control our county, we don't get any funding for that.
But we can control, maybe if we start doing some things to help keep the roads from getting into the shape that they're getting into. But maybe I shouldn't say control, what we're ultimately responsible for.
Yeah, I think, just as an outsider sitting in these, and I've said it on quite a lot, it's the same discussions that go back and forth in all of them. Because it gets to be, how much money do we have to actually fix things? Because it takes a lot to go out and research the road, or let the road get in such bad condition that you're talking reconstruction on the they're gonna be funded for the whole year. It's just shocking. This gives you an idea how to look at one and see what's happening to it. Again, it's a snapshot. It tells you what it is right now. You can see what's happening, how somebody's concerned for that. I love to hear you talk about the ceiling and the crack ceiling that goes on, or the surface treatment. Well, people call it surface treatment.
Are you talking about like chips?
Like chips, that straight. It's just a little way it's block. And people think it's just a terrible shape. Well, it's not. Yeah, but it could be because all those cracks, it's like road before, water just gets in there. Water's the worst enemy your roadway's got. If you come there and chip seal that road, you get a level of the ceiling on it, and then it's rock on there, it brings flexibility back into that road. Plus, it stops the water from getting in. So that road is not dropping anymore. It's not getting worse because you've taken care of that problem. And you've taken care of it for a quarter of the price of taking it. This opens up a lot of options to you. But you don't have to let you see things. That's my thing, man. Talking about the assessment. 20-something years. It's what it started. What you got as a flagger, working away through chip seal crews, through surface treatment crews, through paving crews, and then got to the point where I was actually assessing it. I've seen it from both ends, putting it down, and when you're out there on the road, and you start. This is the activity that you do. You see one side of it, and then all of a sudden I went to the side of doing the assessments. I'm like, you know what? This starts to make sense. I understand why they decided to do that on that road. It all comes together. Some roads, they get to the point where they're level 3s and level 4s, you're in trouble. Those are the roads that have gone too far. When you've got level 2s and level 1s that you can go ahead and address the problems on early, it takes a lot less money to keep them where they're at.
All these roads right here, y'all gonna assess these roads, or is this just a preliminary?
No, this is Franklin County, Georgia.
Yes.
Oh, this map here?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Y'all do the initial assessment in that price?
Yes, sir. That would be for them to do the assessment.
What about any kind of annual inspection and assessment,
Now,
or whatever, future?
Now, my opinion on those, I don't think you need one every year. I think it's too much for a county. I think that's a decision y'all make, whether you want to do it every other year or every third year. I think that's enough because still you're dealing with the money that you have and you're trying to make an impact on this. Talking about, we say an impact on the map, trying to make a change so you get that grade to go from, if you started in the 70, you want it to be pulling up to the high 70s, you don't want it to be dropping. So it's working on that resurfacing part, it's working on the pavement preservation part, and it's moving the dial. Now, talked about going into it and saying that you pave the road and go ahead and make that change. If you pave it this year, you make that change this year. The only problem that I see with that, again, I'm an outsider, so the only problem I see when you do that is it really throws a skewed look at what you've got. Yeah, you did pave this road, but what about this other road that you had that's sitting here teetering at a 70 or 71 or maybe a 65? Did you do anything positive this year, or did its number drop? If its number dropped, this number went up, well, your overall rating probably didn't bounce that much because you've got other roads that drop. So it's a full assessment that really tells a complete story behind it. Like I said, I wouldn't sit here and tell you that, yeah, you need to do this every year because I think it's too much.
Does that cost the same 3 years down the road to reassess, because you've already assessed it and you got a lot of info there? I mean, is it still gonna be the 34, 35,000?
I asked that question to Cole, I don't know, have y'all gone back and reassessed the county before?
I have not in this system, but in, previously I have. And once you get the information in there and you get the sections identified and that sort of thing, there is a little bit lower on the back end. But, you know, at that point, just kind of what else kind of comes up and that sort of thing. I don't know. Like I can't sit here and tell you it'd be half 2 years from now. It may be, it's
Probably
probably.
you still go out on every road and assess them. I mean, you're gonna do every manpower wise, you're still gonna do every road.
And you find out that's what the biggest costume is. And the biggest costume is, once the setup's in there, you know, it's in there, but it's minimal cost for setup to do this, because once you get the Jazz mount, and this is, I'll give you a little bit of my history, so this is far away from the lady at Nashville that handles the Jazz data and IT information for her. She takes it, and puts it in the system, creates this map out of it, it's pretty cut and dry how it works. So that part, that map is already there. So you don't have to go through all that again. In fact, it's gonna make step one, and, you have another layer that's created for the next assessments that people on top. And then you open it up, you see the assessment, if you did it this year, you'd see the assessment you did this year, did it from 2 years from now, then you'd have that assessment. You can compare them, see what the difference in the roadway is. And that preservation treatment, you did, have they been working? Well, it's easy to tell on a red road that goes from red to blue, because, you fell. It's those ones that hang in the middle. Did you slow them down where you could catch up? That's always the trick. Slow them down with preservation, catch up, resurface, and everything's not falling apart. It's not fast.
But basically, to answer the question that y'all have asked, the setup of the system, the origination fee for setting the system up, once it's in there, that's kind of done. The next time you get the reassessment, the labor cost of actually doing the assessments is gonna be the same. Maybe more because you have a little bit more because you have more roads that you've adopted into the county, or it may be a little bit less because you turn roads over. It just depends on what happens. If somebody comes in here and puts in 5 subdivisions and you've got extra roads that's in here, there's gonna be an addition there. If you drop some roads out of the county that's people's filed to have roads closed because they own both sides of the road, you may drop some. But the manpower part of it, to do it, is basically gonna be the same this time, the next time. You have to decide how often that you want to have this happen.
What about training and support, software support and upgrades and all that?
The good thing about it is it's really not a software. We're not selling any kind of software, any kind of programming. Once we do this, it's web-based. So if you go with the subscription, like I said, we do $1,200, that's just our cost. We don't make any money out of that. You open it up just like this. This is Franklin County can look at this right now, just the way we are. They can look at it, do whatever they need to do in it. The good thing with us hosting is if they do something they shouldn't do, we can't fix it for them at that. But it's always clever. It's not an update as far as the program out. Upgrade on everything else doesn't happen inside this program.
So it's included in the fee would be them showing us how to change the ratings and all that. But if we wanted them to host it, then that's part of the $1,200. So any kind of upgrades they do, that would be part of that. It's fine. Oh, your question was a little earlier, 741 miles of state road roughly, Texas City and Fall City.
Why do you feel like a system running preventative maintenance? I mean, like, look to see what roads you need to attack. It's no different than us changing oil in our garbage trucks, and, so it's a preventative maintenance you can do on roads and to get ahead of the game. It's like in education. I mean, those kids making 100, they can't, but those making 60, you need to pull them up.
That's contingent on keeping updating the system as well.
Oh, you have to.
Yeah, you have to either update it by yearly or the 2 years.
The thing that I thought that is really good, it might put us in a position to get the money back.
Yeah, give it a advantage.
This right here is cut and dry. There is no more, we're gonna break it down by digits, give a portion of money, which I've never agreed with. I always thought that was not right then. This, to me, is the fairest way to fix the roads in this community. And it is based upon how long you've been here and how much money you can, If we followed this to the letter, I think we're doing the best interest for this county to all degree. That's where I'm at.
Well, it's actually might be a stepping stone to delegation if they've seen the way the roads are, for us to get the CTC money back.
And if not, then that's a stepping stone toward other things that I mentioned before. And, at some point we got to figure out how to keep our roads up. And $1 million a year, guys, it's not going to catch us up. That's not a lot of money when it comes to paving. So as this council goes forward, and y'all aren't saying this, I'm saying it, if we start looking at road maintenance fees and things like that, like most other counties in this state have, at least we've got something to hang our hat on and say, here's why we're doing this. Just, you know, we've got to have something to show that we're making decisions based on actual factual data, not just on what's in Sonny's head because he rode around and looked at those roads, or my head or whomever. So,
I'll tell you one other thing that has really helped, and we've done, well, not KCI, my previous group I was with, we were involved in Greenville County and Greenville City, have similar programs like this that they follow. The good thing is like you said, you get this snapshot and you create a program off of that. If for some reason grant money comes available, or some type of federal infrastructure bank opens up or something, you've already got everything ready to go. If they tell you, hey, you know, upstate or in the Catawba area, we've got funds available, who can spend it? If you can turn it around fast enough, you know the next 3 roads on your list, you've got a general estimate on what it'll cost to seal them or to repave them or whatever. You can turn that around. It's not a sending Sonny and his crew back out. Go find the next 3 worst roads in our system. It's quick and it's something that you can back up. And like Mr. Little was saying, if we got to the point where we wanted to do the state roads, I would probably suggest that we extend those sections out probably to mile long, since those roads are generally longer. And that's just something that y'all would have to decide if that's something the county would want to spend the money on, but it would be above the estimate that we provided up until this point.
And that's fair. I don't think there's anything in place to tell us what's going on with these state roads other than Stephen riding around telling us. And I don't think that's fair too.
and I can tell you at the CTC committee meeting the other day, and Stephen named every road that you and I could sit here and name, whether it be Ellis Ferry, Burton Gin, Gocher School Road, White Plains, Holly Ridge. You could name, you sit here and name them all, y'all could, every one of you can name them. And there's very few of them that are actually on their list to do that the money's available for.
Well, there's no rating either. They just categorize them all as bad,
And,
which
yeah,
in my
and-
opinion is weak in itself.
Well, and this is, if we can get ahead of them, then maybe we can, I don't know, Mr. Little, but I agree with you wholeheartedly, and Mr. Little and I have talked about this prior to this. We need a tool, we need something to help us, because you guys are responsible for 300 miles, and we just, I don't know, we need to, and if we have to do it every 3 years, and we have to spend $25,000-$30,000 every 3 to 4 years, then I don't know that that's bad money, as long as it's helping us make good decisions as we move forward. So,
Any more questions from council on any information given today? What's the pleasure of this committee? We can take it a couple of ways. We can take it as information and talk about it, or what you want to do.
Well, if we make a motion from this committee to take it to full council, I mean, is that something we could, I mean, it's the first time we've seen it, so, I mean, I'm all for it, but to make a motion and vote and say, yeah, let's go get it, I mean, I know we've discussed, but we're still in the committee right now. But I mean, you know, roads are just getting worse. I mean, you know, we can kick the can, but kicking the can is not gonna help us in the future with it. Like I said, I understand where you're coming from, Mr. Little, with state roads, but you gotta start somewhere. And I mean, you know, we're all county councilmen. I mean, county roads is a place to start.
Well, I'll say this, and y'all know this as well. When we did what Steve just did with the county roads, we looked at who was getting what, and we were like, you know, is that fair to the other ones? Well, if we do with this, it's fair to everybody, and it's fair to the county. That's where I'm at, because you're always gonna make somebody mad unless you have a roadmap on where we're going. Everybody has their opinion on what's the worst, but we'll actually have engineers, not
Sonny, but he will help with Sonny, and y'all come up with what needs to be done in what manner. And I like your thing about fixing the roads that are already good, but we have nothing like that right now. I mean, to tell us where we're at, and that might be one of the reasons we're in the shape we're in now. So, I don't know if y'all wanna make a motion or not, but whichever angle you wanna go.
Whatever motion, if you make a motion in committee, it's gotta go before full council for a full approval.
Yeah, for a full vote. Well, I'll make a motion that we, purchase this software, or well, however we want to put it, I know it's not a software.
service.
This service, rather, purchase this service, so that we can get on the right track.
What's the amount of this?
$34,700.
And where did the funds come from?
I'll have to find them, Mr. McDaniel. I feel certain that I can do that. The other thing we can look at doing is if you guys want to put in $5,000 from each of you on your, road money, we can take it that way and do that if you want to do that. I thought about that. I'm not sure if that's what the council wants to do, but that's an option.
I'm certainly okay with that, but,
Yeah.
you want to amend your motion to that effect?
Yes, is everybody good with that? I mean, I know all right, so I'll make a motion, to purchase this service, and then we'll take 5,000 out of each councilman. I guess you're saying gravel.
Yes, sir.
Money, to purchase this service.
Got a motion, do we have a second? Any other questions? All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, like sign. Okay, we'll take that to full council. Mr. Bratton, do you have anything else?
That's all I've got, Mr.
Chairman. New, old, other business? This meeting's adjourned.